So good. Thank you very much, Jerry. Appreciate it.
You bet.
We have just one basic topic to cover here, but before we get that, let's go through the breakdown. The breakdown is here's what can happen, and more importantly, what you can do about it if you get rattled. So, I mean, sometimes we're gung-ho on the script, we're in the flow, and then somebody pulls us into the weeds. This is a great example of how you can get right back on track. Now, I want to talk a little bit today about speaking new languages. And why do you think I want to talk about speaking new languages? Because 5Q, aren't we asking you with motivation interviewing to actually speak a new language or speak differently than you have before? Now, obviously, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier than learning a foreign language, but we're asking you to speak differently than you normally would. Now, a lot of guys will tell me, you know, it's difficult. And yeah, any new skill is going to be difficult, but I want you to walk through some of the science here about how difficult it can be. So collectively, this body of research, this article that I was reading, this body of research suggests that one can never be too old to learn something new, but that for the older they are, the harder it is for them to do so. Now, some aspects of language learning becomes progressively more difficult with age. Others becomes easier. Now, what they did find was, guess what? When somebody who is older learns a language, what do you think they found out about that person who's older that learns the language? Anybody have a guess? Yeah, they feel younger. I'd go along with that. You actually hold it longer. You hold it longer because the longer it takes you to learn something, the more it is locked into your brain. Also, they found it's a lot easier for many older people because they have a much bigger vocabulary than younger folks, and grammar and syntax is easier for them. They have a pre-existing knowledge. And guys, if you've been in the industry for 30 years, do you have a pre-existing knowledge on financial matters when we talk about 5Q language? Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, you do. So it's going to be easier to learn the 5Q language for you. Learning a new language may not always seem easy for adults, but there is a research that suggests that doing so is beneficial for the brain. We've already talked about that. So the great thing about learning to talk 5Q is it means more money for you. So a lot of people always ask, what books are you reading? Well, this is the book I have read recently called Ultra Learning. And I was actually turned on to it by a website called Fluent in 3 Months. It's about this, it's a blogger, this Irishman blogs, and he, I think, knows, I don't know, like 14 different languages now, and he can learn them in 3 months. So that blogger has many other writers on it, and the guy who wrote Ultra Learning asked one of the writers on the blog to critique his book or read the book and see what he thought about it. So here's the funny thing, that the guy who wrote the book in his 20s and 30s, he learned with this ultra learning concept, drawing, copywriting, creative writing, crocheting animals, basic HTML coding, blogging, dog training, using the same type of mentality. So does this only work for languages, or is he saying that this works basically for anything you'd want to learn? Anything. So here's the blogger and what he was talking about after he read Scott Young's Ultra Learning book. He said he was skeptical that it would be all that great. But on one hand, I was aware of Scott's achievements, more on those in a moment, and I felt that Scott was learning superpowers that he couldn't possibly teach me. Because if this only works for this genius people, does it really help us? No. But just so you know, the author, Scott Young, basically graduated from a mid to even low-level Canadian college, and so he's not a genius by any means. The nice thing is, though, he actually been able to teach this to many, many more people. But so some of the things that Scott has done, it's not because he's a genius or he wouldn't be going to a mid to lower level Canadian college. So on the other hand, I felt that I knew a lot about learning new things. What could be what could a book about do-it-yourself learning possibly teach me? As it turns out, a lot. Here's a story of how I became better. So this is Scott Young. He learned 4 languages in 1 year. So first year out of college, first year out of that Canadian mid-level college, he wanted to see how quickly he could learn things. So he actually took all of the MIT courses for a computer engineering degree, a bachelor's in computer engineering. All those, I don't know if you guys know this, but did you know all the courses, MIT puts all of its courses online, as well as like Stanford and Harvard, a lot of those put those online. So he went through and he got the syllabus for what he would have to learn, or what classes he'd have to take to graduate from MIT with a bachelor's in computer engineering. And all of these courses that are online, they also give you the quizzes, and they also give you the tests, and they also give you the how to correct the test corrections as well. So he actually went through and he did online in 1 year, got a 4-year education from MIT for absolutely for free. Now, when they put them online, do they give you credit for them? No. But he did the whole thing, the quizzes, the tests, and everything. He was offered, when he did that, a lot of people started following him later in that year. He got job offers from startups, from Microsoft, from Oracle, Google, you name it. He got job offers from everybody because did they really care that he had a college degree, or did they want somebody who could learn, that was that dedicated to learning? Do you think they cared about having a college degree? They all said, well, we don't care if he has a college degree or not. If he can do that, we want him. That guy is a person who's motivated. So I first discovered Scott's writing back when I was obsessively reading blogs in 2007, and he's been on my radar ever since. I was excited to meet him in person a couple of years ago and go through my work here in Fluent in 3 months. Benny Lewis is the Irishman that I was talking about, the founder of this blog, is good friends with Scott, and I met Scott in Ireland when we were both visiting Benny. What impressed me most about Scott is he gets results. He started blogging in his teens. He built up a successful blog through his clear, engaging writing style and his ability to network with other bloggers. That's why he actually took on this MIT challenge. He's a writer. He's not a math genius. He's a writer. And he thought, well, how can I get people's attention in my blog? And that's why he actually did that MIT stunt. But it was Scott's learning missions that really impressed me in his so he taught himself, there we go, the entire 4-year MIT computer science curriculum in just 12 months. He learned 4 languages in 1 year. So the year that all those job offers he received from Microsoft, et cetera, he turned them down because he had no interest in being a computer science or in computer science. He just did to see if he could do it. The next year, what he did is he traveled to 4 different countries, Spain, Brazil, China, and South Korea, and he spent 3 months in each one of those places. He became fluent in Spanish and Portuguese. Chinese and Korean were harder for him. So he said he was able to, by the end of 3 months, he was able to converse without looking at a translation book or using the phone at all. He wasn't fluent, but he could actually communicate without any crutches at all in Chinese and Korean in just 3 months. And you could see he taught himself to draw here. I mean, is there day one when he started drawing? That's not too bad. It's way better than I could do in day one. But look at where he went in 30 days. This is something people would pay for. So Scott asked if I'd review his new book, Ultra Learning. So the blogger, Scott wanted the blogger to review his book. Of course, I said yes. So Ultra Learning is about how to learn new things faster. Let's start with what Scott means by Ultra Learning. A strategy for acquiring skills and knowledge that is both self-directed and intense. So this isn't easy, guys. It isn't like listening to this stuff before you go to bed or while you're sleeping. It is intense. That's how he's able to do it. For example, how he learns a language, how he learned Spanish, was that he and his buddy, because his buddy did this with that 1 year abroad with him, they agreed that when they arrived in a country, they would only speak in that language. So when they arrived in Spain, they only spoke Spanish. Even though neither one of them spoke Spanish, they said they were immersion, exactly right. They decided that they were only going to speak Spanish, so that even when they were alone in their hotel room, they did not speak in English, only Spanish. So they forced themselves to learn that language, and guess what happened? So think about that as it applies to us, guys. Think about that as it applies to us. If you revert back to doing things the old way, and then sometimes you do it with motivation interviewing, sometimes the old way, and sometimes motivation interviewing, that's not going to work. You've all heard the example I give, that how quickly can everybody in the system learn? Let's see, so we got some new people on since last time I gave this analogy. How quickly could everybody in the system learn motivational interviewing if they wanted to? Instantly. 5 minutes, right? Instantly. 5 minutes. Why? Does anybody know why? Ron's got it. Nick's got it. Yeah, so Ron knows it. I said that if I'm going to show up to your office and I'm going to sit there in the corner, if anything comes out of your mouth except open-ended questions, I'm going to shoot you in the kneecap. Guess what everybody would be able to do? If I said anything came out of your mouth except an open-ended question, I'd shoot you in the kneecap. Guess what everybody would be able to do? Now, would some of your questions be kind of odd or awkward? Would there be maybe awkward 1 and 2 and 3 minute silences as you're trying to think, how can I put that in the form of a question? Yes. There'd be some awkward questions. There'd be some long silences. But think about this. Would it take 10 years, 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 minutes, 10 days? It'd be 10 minutes before your questions would be better and your awkward silences would get shorter. You just have to dive in and say, I'm only going to do it this way. That's what he did. So alter learning means choosing a specific thing that you want to learn, coming up with a strategy for learning that thing, and putting your strategy into practice, often in an intense way, which is how he learned 4 languages in a year. According to Scott, alter learning is a skill you can acquire. Once you have this skill, you'll be able to develop smart, fast strategies for learning anything. So once you alter learn something, you now have the skills to alter learn basically anything you want to know. To put it another way, you have a skill and you're set for life. So what new skills can you learn? You can learn a new musical instrument, how to cook, photography. I mean, look at anything that you possibly want to learn, including how to speak with motivational interviewing. So the guy that won $77,000 in a single day, he was an ultra learner. He used ultra learning to be able to, because this guy's not a genius. He used ultra learning to memorize those things. I'll give you, so Tristan Montebello, who was coached by Scott using these techniques that Scott shares in his book. In 7 months, Tristan went from no speaking experience whatsoever to the finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking for Toastmasters. Benny Lewis, the founder of this blog, The Irishman, went from beginner German speaker to fluent in just 3 months. Roger Allen Craig, who holds the record for the highest single day of earnings in Show Jeopardy, $77,000, ended up winning $200,000 during his first week on the show. Basically used the ultra learning. Nigel Richards, who won the World Scrabble Championships in French, despite not speaking French, spent only 9 weeks preparing using ultra learning. That's what you can achieve with this. So the writer for this blog, not the Irishman, but one of his writers for the blog, went through and he used the ultra learning for himself. How I learned to mix lo-fi music. Does anybody know what electronic dance music is? And you use boards and things like that to learn. You basically mix, like a DJ, and some of these pop songs, they have a mixer back there. That's what he learned to do. So to put Scott's strategies into action, I decided to take on a new ultra learning project. And both my boys do this, and they spent years working at it. It's a big ass board with all sorts of dials and whistles and sliders, and it's complicated as all get out. And this guy actually tried to learn it, I think he said 3 times. Here we go. I once tried to learn music production as a teenager. After one song, I gave up because I wasn't completely happy with the results, and this time I wanted to dig deeper. So it's a hard thing to learn. In this book, Scott shares 9 principles of ultra learning. There were 3 that this particular guy found particularly helpful in his music project. One was meta learning, one is directness, and one is drilling. So meta learning, what that's talking about is about discovering effective ways to reach your learning goal. You can do this by reading online forums, books, asking other learners. Scott recommends spending 10% of the time you dedicated to learning a project to meta learning, which means do broad research. How did other people learn to do this? Who are the best people in the industry? What did they do? What's their experience? So you're basically immersing yourself in the broad strokes of how other people have learned that particular topic. So for my own meta learning, I read a ton of online articles and forums. I tried out different tools, apps for making music, and I asked a friend who's an experienced musician and producer about the process he used to make music. This was especially helpful as it opened my eyes to aspects of musical production I wasn't even aware of. Through meta learning, I discovered the best music production tools. So there's lots of different tools, so he found the one that he liked best. He found the basic structure of a Lo-Fi is the name of the tool that he ended up using. It's a software tool. So guys, this is basically learning to use a software tool to make music. Elements and the layers that make up a Lo-Fi song. Techniques for sampling. Once I knew this, I was already starting to make music. And then directness, that's meta learning. So that's the overview you got. Then directness, learn by doing. Learning by doing rather than learning by studying or reading. So what does that tell you about how we do it? Should you be reading the scripts or should you be saying the script? Should you be listening to the videos or should you be stopping and doing the videos? So do you want to speak Spanish in Latin America? Then speak Spanish for Latin Americans. Do you want to learn how to draw in charcoal? Then start drawing in charcoal. And what he said is don't learn it before you use it. Just like he said, when he arrived in Spain, did he wait till he knew Spanish before he started speaking Spanish? Or did he arrive and say, I don't know how to speak Spanish, but I'm going to go ahead and speak Spanish anyways? So once I decided the best software, he just started working with it. He made tons of mistakes. And the last thing is the drill. Focus on your weak points. Don't focus on the strong points. Focus on the weak points. So, because most people love to work on the things they're good at, but they hate working things that they're poorly at. So, calls this approach to drilling. To drill, you break down the skill you want to learn into specific components, and you create the drills to work on that area when you're weakest, the bottlenecks that are holding you back. So, in his project, he discovered many different weak points, and he just kept working on them until he was able to do them. So I started to drilling drum loops, loading down drum loops was one of his weaknesses, to my phone. This means I can play around creating drum loops whenever I have a few spare moments. So for each of the 9 Ultra Learning Project Guides provide specific tactics in that book. So if you're looking for a book to read, I would highly recommend the Ultra Learning if you really want to become a fantastic learner, because it doesn't work for geniuses, it works for everybody. And then he actually played the little song that he learned how to do, which is actually pretty darn good. So in summary, here's what he learned. Work towards a specific goal. For example, rather than saying, I want to learn to draw, say, I want to learn to draw faces. Is that the same? I want to learn to draw, or I want to learn to draw faces? So you could say, I want to learn to speak in motivational interviewing, or you could say what? So give me some ideas what you could be to be more specific. Nobody? I want to learn to use motivational interviewing to learn the 5Q scripts. Investigate other learners. To give structure to my learning projects, I plan to spend a lot of time discovering how other people have learned a skill I want to learn and push myself to go deep. Rather than working around my weak points, I want to go in, identify them, and drill and drill and drill and drill. So guess what your 15-minute drill is about? What's your 15-minute drill about? It's a mini version of what? Drilling or finding your weak points and identifying and addressing them. So here's the things he found. Ultra learning is a smart, strategic way to skill up for personal fulfillment and professional advantage. Meta learning is a crucial yet overlooked step for reaching a big picture understanding of your field. Simple mental strategies can defend against distractions and refine your focus. Taking the shortest route from theory to practice allows you to skill up smoothly, which means don't sit there and say, I'm not going to do this till I know how to do it. I'm not going to do this till I know how to do it. No, you just do it. You do it, and then you fix it. You do it, then you fix it. You do it and you fix it. You don't wait and say, I'm going to start doing this as soon as I know how to do it. No, you do it immediately. Use drilling to hone your skills to perfection. Use challenge recall strategies is the best way to retrieve information you've learned. We've talked about that several times in the last 6 months. Elicit high-quality feedback to identify your weaknesses and improve your performance. Again, we've talked about that. That's what happens when you record yourself. Smart, strategically placed memorization sessions ensure that you will learn and what you learn really sticks. Cultivating deep understanding is the surest way to finding an intuitive. So the key message is that first glance, ultra learners can look like outliers that, no, they're just brilliant people. They're geniuses. Nobody can do that. But in reality, anyone can adopt ultra learning's aggressive, self-directed learning style to master difficult tasks in a short time. So actionable advice, interested in taking the ultra learning challenge to hone a professional edge. Before you commit to a time-consuming project, like teaching yourself the basics of coding language, or make sure it aligns with your career objectives. Find a professional in the ultra learning field and conduct an expert interview and ask them, what concepts are fundamental to the field? Have we already done that for you guys with 5Q? Yes. So we have a pilot program. I'm only going to offer this to 4 people to help you learn the script. So those of you that are really dedicated to learning the scripts and you want to try a tool that will make that easier for you and will allow you to submerge into it or have those scripts with you as you walk around all day long, we're only taking the first 4 takers. And what we want to do is make sure that the software that we're using is able to be rolled out to everybody, that it's not confusing, that it's easy to use, that it's actually helpful. So we don't want to roll it out to everybody until we've actually done this with a few people and make sure it works. So the first 4 takers would be people that have at least average computer skills, at least average cell phone skills, because it's going to be loading the scripts onto your cell phone. So you better be able to utilize your smartphone, and then have completed the 21-point checklist masters program. So you actually have started to try to learn the 21-point scripts. So if you want to be one of the first 4 takers, these are the 3 things you would need. And if you want to be one of the first 4 takers to try that program, I'd greatly appreciate it. And you would contact Matt, and Matt would be your concierge for that program. So what we're trying to do is it's a way to learn the scripts easier, faster, have them with you all the time so you could drill them whenever you have a spare 5 minutes or whatever on your smartphone. But we need to, and if it works well and it's not clumsy and not confusing, then we'll roll it out to everybody. But we don't want to create a cluster, you know what, by having everybody do it at one time if it's not going to be great. So we found it's very easy. I thought I can do it, and if I figure if I can do it, anybody can do it because I'm not that technically savvy. But we want to try 4 different people and see if that will work. So if you're interested in that, contact Matt at ECA, and he can be the concierge. So he's going to drill you a little bit to find out if you have average computer skills, average smartphone skills, and make sure you already know, or not mastered, but have already familiar with the 21-point checklist scripts, not the 21 Lite, but the real 21-point checklist scripts that we use with prospects. So if you want to be involved in that, get a hold of Matt, and as soon as we have feedback and whether that's helpful or confusing, then I'll let you know one way or the other for everybody else to be able to use that. But it's based on, what we're using here is many things based on that ultra learning mentality. Super. So those of you who are interested, contact Matt. Appreciate you listening to me today. If you're looking for a book to read, Ultra Learning is a fantastic book to read. And you guys all have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk to you all next Monday. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.